Welcome to another
all
episode.
right.
Yeah. Welcome to another episode of You Can't Make This Shit Up. That's David in South Carolina, and I'm Joel here at the campus of UCF here in Central Florida, the best part of our country as far as I'm concerned. And
All right.
we got the right leadership in place for this moment of time. So, David, we're going to be talking about my favorite subject. I think this is what I think what this is they're really trying to get me to be, to get on their side of guns, because it's like we talk about guns so frequently. It's like maybe we can influence them by, you can't make this shit up. But let me get started. When there are more firearms, there are more firearm suicides, said Michael Anestis, the executive director of the New Jersey Gun Violence Research Center. According to a recent study of the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, the rate of suicides involving guns in the United States has reached the highest level since officials began tracking it more than 50 years ago. And we are going to explore this epidemic and have a discussion about it. Go, David. Let's see. What do you got?
Well, from a personal point of view, I suffer from depression about 10 years ago, roughly. And I was at my lowest point at that time. I was on the heels of a separation and a divorce. I was looking at, losing just about everything. And it was a struggle. I had mental health professionals come and intervene, family intervene. My girlfriend at the time, who is now my fiance, she intervened, and it was a process to get out of that depression. And if I had access to a weapon of any kind, not just a firearm, but of any kind, would I have gone further and self-deleted myself? Again, I was at the lowest I've ever been in my life, and I consider that as an option. And as men, we have the world on our shoulders. And I'm going to talk about this particular topic from the standpoint of being a man. You and I being men, having the responsibility of the world on our shoulders. That's what men were built for. We were built to lead, provide, and protect. And I was seeing my whole world change, redefined, because I was no longer that man in my household, in my home, who led, provided, and protect. And it crushed me. And with men around the world, our role is being redefined, and we're seeing there's no doubt the facts do show that men are likely to self-delete than women. No one cares. No one cares about us men, but men, And I've had this conversation with my mother recently when I visited, and I pretty much turned to her and said, "Mom, nobody cares about men. It's on us. The responsibility falls on us ultimately." And she looked at me and she's like, "David, you're right. You're right." Even though she saw her relationship with my father as equal partners, at the end of the day, certain decisions fell upon my father. She had the wisdom to guide him in those decisions, but the responsibility fell on his shoulders.
Well, I will say, since my time as a military police officer in the United States Army, this has always been a very touchy subject. It's not like you don't see suicide. Nobody thinks it's going to affect you. But some of the bases I was on were very small bases, and it is the number one way that men do decide to self-delete, as you say. Women more likely are going to take some pills or something to try to guide themselves out, or the wrists are never cut correctly. So that's just usually a sign of of reaching out. Like this is the moment when you do the cutting. That's the moment you better be intervening. So that's just a warning sign. There are no warning signs. Depression is it can come in all different shapes and sizes. I collapsed my lung in Panama, and I collapsed my lung in Washington D.C. The other one, I was told it would most likely happen. There's over 75% chance, and you know, I thought I'd be very prepared for it. But the recovery from my second collapsed lung was totally different than my first, and it put me in. I was lethargic. I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't feel like I deserved it. Why me kind of thing. And I didn't have that the first time. I didn't have all those feelings the first time. I was just overwhelmed. So depression comes in several different forms. I believe I believe at that time that was depression. Did I get out of it? Yes. Did I get out of it without medication? Thank God I did. But I was an MP. Would I have even sought attention? Would I have sought attention? I'm an MP. I'm a man. This is not, I'm not allowed to be depressed. I'm supposed to do this. People don't realize, and I tell the psychologists or the doctors of mental health, I say, they ask incredibly, they're always going to ask you if you've had thoughts or harming yourself or somebody else. They're going to ask it. And I said, before you ask it, listen, you're not human if you haven't thought about it. So I'm not going to come in here and lie. Yes. But have I thought about it recently? No. But it's humanly impossible to answer that question the way you phrased it without a yes. And anybody who does is mentally ill because they're lying to you. So it's kind of my kind of humor towards them because I want to be lightening the room. But it's true. You don't realize what your responsibility is. But the thing that helps me is always remembering that there's somebody out there that's going to be affected and how affected they're going to be. It's not, oh, well, they have a windfall because they did the insurance. Well, they don't get the insurance if you off yourself. So then you start to think about, what the pain and suffering they're going to go through. If you can focus on that, it brings it back to the fact that you're selfish. If you can believe that you're being selfish, it can change your decision making process. But always think about others first. That really helps. But it's not a cure. Cure is going to see your doctor. But we're talking about guns and the accessibility of guns and the increase in guns. I'm going to, there's several different causes. And I think the biggest one we should be aware of is the economic situation of people. Right now, people are hurting. The economy, you can tell them every day that the economy is getting better and better, but until they feel that they're being provided for, everything's starting to come together. But not knowing what the prices are going to be on your fuel prices have gone up, your food prices have gone up, your housing issues are out of control, businesses shutting down because they can't afford their rent. For example, the coop down in Winter Park, the only reason it closed is because the rent went up. I mean, if it's not making the profits that you're expecting, you still have to keep your margin low so that you still have people coming in and buying food. So there's several different things, but I will say you don't buy a gun to off yourself. Like you don't buy it to you don't buy it to die. Right? You don't. That's the thing that doesn't happen. Now, if you have guns accessible, if you have them available, then yes, you're more likely to take your life. But nobody goes out and buys a gun to off themselves.
Right. Dr. Michael Anestis of the New Jersey Gun Violence Research Center is starting a program where they would train barbers, faith leaders, bartenders, and even divorce lawyers on how to help promote those options to people who are discouraged. Much like, going to hold your car keys when you had too much to drink. This effort is to, bring education to the community and help prevent self-deletion in our communities. And since the pandemic, we're seeing more women, more people of color, more Black and Hispanic gun owners or future gun owners buy firearms. So, with higher gun ownership, we're likely to see higher rates of self-deletion. Hopefully that will change. But this effort in New Jersey, it's a good start. It's unique. It's a very good start. But it is important that we do address this. And specifically, this is a public service announcement to men. Men, talk to one another, seek out help if you find yourself in the trenches of depression. If there is turmoil, seek out that help. And if you need resources, they're available. You can Google it. You can reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you text 988, you'll be able to reach the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, or go to speakingofsuicide.com/resources for additional resources.
Well, be a man. Be a man. See, it's more of a being a man if you seek help than it is to think you're macho enough to beat this yourself. Okay, that's being a man. Being a man is making that decision to seek help because you're an important part of your community, your family, and everything else. And you've got to remember that. So I challenge you that you're not a man if you're offing yourself, because you weren't brave enough to go seek help. And that would be my final word.
Excellent.
Oh, and
again,
excuse me, and talk to your barber because he's your psychologist of choice, right?
Indeed. Everyone, please, if you enjoy what our topics are, if you enjoy our opinion, our comments, we want to hear what you have to say. So please do not hesitate. Comment. Let us know what you think. And please share this content with your friends, with your families, with other politicos, with wannabe politicos, with electeds. We're all over the major socials. So please like, share, and hit the notification bell when you can. We are your political innovators. That's Joel Hawksley. I'm David Washington. We're Jay in Washington. This is the Jay in Washington Network. We appreciate everything. You're our community. Let's grow it. Thank you.